So the reason I'm talking about motion equals emotion so much is because I'm trying to talk about changing the mindset, changing your emotional state. And you do that by your actions. If you will take your fear and you will start acting bold, you'll overcome fear. If you start taking joy and overcome your depression, you'll become joyful. If you start taking peace and meditation, you'll overcome anxiety. If you start talking love and acting on love and having love motion, you will overcome hate and anger. So if that friend of mine that is just hating driving, so angry, so upset, if she would go to bed an hour early, get up an hour early, set her clothes up at night, all ready to go. So when she gets up, she's ready. Maybe do a 30-minute walk one way, 30-minute walk back, have a nice little wholesome breakfast, get in her car 15, 20 minutes early, take her time on the way to work, and just tell people, come on in. I know you didn't have your blinker. Oh, God bless you. Just come on in. Oh, come on in. I'm sorry. Nope, you're good. Come on in. And if she changed her motions, she would change her emotions. So remember, I'm saying that we've got good news, bad news, and good news. The good news is your mind was created positively. Your mind was created for good. The bad news is it was programmed negatively. It was preset, predetermined. It was conditioned negatively. The good news, the great news, is that you can change your mind. You can change your thinking, change your world. The Apostle Paul said it this way, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. You can change your life. You can change your life by changing your thinking. You can change your life. You can be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, when I talk about desires, I'm saying that they're inside your heart. I want to share 3 things with you. And it's something I learned in Bold. I had learned it a long time ago and got reintroduced it in Bold. But it's called be, do, have. See, God set it up to this way. Be, and then do, and then you will have. The apple tree, the apple seed, it is an apple. It bees an apple. The little old tree this big is an apple tree. Doesn't look like an apple tree. Doesn't act like an apple tree. Doesn't do what apple trees do. Doesn't have any apples. But it's a bee. It is an apple tree. See, be, and then do, and then you will have apples. What we do is we make it backwards. We try to do this. Have, do, be. Oh, if I could just have the right wife. If I could just have the right job. If I just had a better education. I could do more and I'd finally be happy. I'd finally be rich. If I just had a better body, I could do more and then I could finally be healthy. If I just had more, I could finally do more and then I'd be joyful. Other people, they do. Oh, they're doers. They're do. Oh, if I could just do more, I would have more and I would be happy. If I could have just done more and did more, if I could do more, I could have more. I could have a better life. If I could have gone to college and did a better job at school and did a better job at work, then I could finally have a better spouse or a better job or a better career. And if I could have that, then I could finally be happy. No, ladies and gentlemen, it's be, and then do, and then have. You've got to find out what the gift is. You've got to find out what's inside you. You've got to find out what your purpose is, what your goals are, what your philosophy is, what your core values are, what God put inside you, what's the seeds, as Les Brown says, what are your seeds of greatness? Are you an apple tree or are you a peach tree? You see, what race are you running? Is it a short race or a long race? Are you on a bicycle or are you swimming? What is your race? Are you in public service or are you in marketing? What are you supposed to do? Where are you supposed to be? Are you supposed to be a technician? Are you supposed to work with your hands? Are you supposed to work with your mind? Are you creative? Musical? What is it? What is your gift? What's the thing on the inside of you that you should enhance. See, be, and then do that, and then you'll have who you are. So I say it this way, be because you already are. Now here's the thing about the desires that I'm talking about. Here's the things about the gifts that I'm talking about, is that we're created with three parts: spirit, soul, and body. The Apostle Paul said, dedicate your spirit, your soul, and your body. Now let me give a disclaimer. Sometimes people confuse spirit and soul, and I'm okay with that. That's semantics. In other words, if you think your soul is in your core value, then you would say it this way: soul, mind or emotion, and body. So if you say, oh, my soul, my soul is God's, my soul is going to heaven, then what you're going to say is my soul, and then my emotions and mind, and then my body. I like to use Apostle Paul's language. He calls it spirit. That's the real you. That's the inner you. That's the you that reaches out to God. That's the you that's created in the image of God. And that you needs to become alive. That's the inward you. That's the real you. The Apostle Paul called it the hidden man of the heart. That's inside you. That's the spiritual you. That's the you that can connect to God. That's where the desires are placed, way down deep into your spirit. We call it the heart, way in here, the core. Matter of fact, Proverbs says that the candle of the Lord is in the belly of man. The belly of man is the spirit of man, the core of man, that real you. And then the Apostle Paul says, take that real you and clothe the outer you. See, most people have this inner faith, but they have fear on the outside. Most people have love on the inside, but hate and anger on the outside. Most people have peace and joy on the inside, but they haven't let it blossom. They haven't let it manifest. They're an apple tree on the inside, but they haven't let it manifest. And so on the outside, they're clothed with anger and doubt and fear and troubles and depression and anxiety. That's why I've got this shirt on. I call it, I am a giant slayer. The first giant you want to kill is that giant in your mind. So the spirit has all the good stuff, and then it's the soul or the mind or the emotions that are programmed negatively, like we talked a minute ago, and we've got to slay that giant. It's not the giant out there that we've got to slay. It's the giant in here that we have to slay. And so in bold we say, don't listen to your drunk monkey. I say, slay the giant. See the monsters under your bed when you were a child? As you grew up, they got in your head. And they started telling you things like you can't and you won't and you shan't. See, and you need to slay that giant. And you need to rise above it. And you need to do have. You need to allow the gifts that are inside of you to come on the outside of you. So we are spirit. We possess the soul. Spirit is where all the good stuff is. Spirit's the B part. Spirit is where God is. Spirit where the seeds are. Spirit is where the gifts are and the calling is. And all the good stuff is all on the inside of you. And then your mind mucks it up. And so we got to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. We've got to change our thinking, change our world. We've got to change it up here. And then as we change it up here, we can make it work. A minute ago, I was saying that we had 3 things that we need to do to have this perfect life. If your life was perfect, what it would look like. First thing is we have to change our mind. Then the second thing is we have to write it down on paper. I want you to write on paper what your life would look like if it was perfect. Write it down, kind of like a blueprint. And then we have to go out and do it. So you have to conceive it in your mind, write it down on paper, and then action steps and make it happen. So we have a spirit, we have a soul, and we have our bodies. God and our spirit belongs to God. It's up to us to change our thinking, change our mind, we change our world. And then of course we have our body. And so we need to take care of our body, just like I shared with you earlier about the process. You want to get to the gym. You want to get the good calories in. You want to get good vegetables in. Why? Because our body is the house of our spirit. I've got 3 pickle stories for you. 3 pickle stories. And then I'll wrap it up. 3 pickle stories. The first one is, I like to say it like this: give them the pickle. Give them the pickle. You need to Google that. Give them, E-M, give them the pickle. It's a guy named Bob Farrell that had ice cream parlors in the 70s and 80s. And he was starting a franchise. And on his second franchise, a customer had written him a letter. Evidently, the customer had gone to the store, one of the ice cream parlors, and said, hey, I want a side order pickles. Well, the manager wouldn't give him any pickles. So the customer wrote Bob Farrell and he said, hey, I went to one of your stores and they wouldn't give me any pickles. And so Bob Farrell got on the phone and first of all, he sent gift certificates and apology letter to the guy and called the guy and apologized. He called his manager and says, what's going on? Give him the pickle! And he became famous for saying, give him the pickle. And when you Google it, you'll find out what he means by the pickle. He means give your customers what they want, what they desire. If you can find out what your customer wants and give it to them, you'll become successful. You'll be the best in the room. You'll be the best in your company, best in your organization. Mary Kay said it like this: everybody has a sign around their neck, MMFI, make me feel important. If you make everybody you come in contact with feel important, you will be successful. Zig Ziglar said it like this: you can have everything you want in life, everything you desire in life, if you help enough people get what they desire. So I have 3 ways for you to be successful. And I'll use the word want, but I'll change it to desire. Find out what your customer wants. Find out what your boss or employer wants. If you're the boss, find out what your employees want. If you don't have any employees in your one-man show, find out what your vendors and your work partners and your referral partners want. So find out what your customers want. Oh, Robert, I'm retired. You still have customers. Who buys into what you have? Your neighbor? Your spouse? If somebody's buying into what you have, if you want somebody to buy in to what you do, that's your customer. Oh, no, you don't understand, Robert. I'm on floor 3. We call it the toxic zone, if you read the book Fish. And we just push paper. Who takes the paper? Well, the lenders and the accountants. That's your customer. That's your customer. Who takes your finished product? That's your customer. So most of us have a job, I suppose. So if you have a job, what's your customer? Then what does your customer want? What does your boss want? And then what do you want? If you can figure those 3 things out, what's your customer, your boss or employees or work partners, and you, if you will find out what 3 those things are, what you all desire, what all 3 of you desire, and you can bring it to a common denominator, you can be successful. You'll be the best in the room. And this is what I mean. So common denominator means this. Let's say there's 3 boys. I meant to write this down, so I hope I get the math right. Let's say there's 3 boys, and they all have a pie, and the pie is exactly the same size. But one pie has 6 slices, one pie has 4 slices, and one pie has 8. So 4, 6, and 8. One pie has 4, one has 6, one has 8. Okay? So the one that has 4 pies, he eats 2 of them. That's called 2/4. The second guy eats 3 pies out of 6. That's called 3/6. The other guy has 4 pies out of 8. That's 4/8. I'm not going to get into the math, But what's the common denominator? The common denominator is 2. They all ate half a pie. One ate 3 slices, one ate 4 slices, and one ate 2 slices, I guess. It was, if that was right with a fork, you know. They all ate a half a pie. And so I know my math is fuzzy, but you need to find the common denominator. You need to find the common denominator of what your customer wants, what your boss wants, and what you want. Well, I knew what I desired. I desired to grow in the company. I desired to become a manager. I desired to make more money and to become a better influencer. That's what I desired. So what did my customer desire? What did my owner desire, my boss desired? Well, I worked for a company in 1987 called Get and Go Stores. It was retail. And I started on the job at a minimum wage, 26 years old. I went from construction to retail, and I wanted to change my focus. I wanted to get into business, so I started working for Get and Go Stores in 1987 on Tuesday, August 11th. And I was working in the midnight shift in the worst part of Tulsa, Oklahoma for minimum wage. And I had to work 66 hours a week minimum just to break even. And so I walk into the door and I see a pickle jar, huge. I was going to buy one just for the graphics. A big pickle jar that had pickles, huge pickles, like 8 inches long, 60 of them, big pickles. And everybody was asking me, how can I get that jar? So I asked the manager the next day, I'm new on the job. He goes, don't give that jar away. We sell our jars for $25. $25? There was 2 in the back. And he's got 2 back there. So somebody wants a jar, sell it to him for $25. Nobody wanted to buy a jar. They wanted the jar, they just didn't want to pay $25 for it. So I go to another store, and they don't have pickles. I say, hey, where's your pickles? Oh, we don't sell pickles. Why not? We don't make fresh sandwiches. I said, what? One store makes fresh sandwiches and Get and Go. They sell pickles. The other store doesn't make the fresh sandwiches. They sell the frozen sandwiches, and they don't have pickles. So I'm going around. There's 2 stores. One has pickles and one doesn't. I'm asking questions. See, you know why? I knew what the customer wanted. I knew they wanted the jar. So, as luck would have it, 11 months later, I was a manager. Not only was I a manager, but for the first time in history, they made a brand new manager the training manager. I trained all new employees. And not only did I train all new employees, for the first time in their history, I had an 8-hour seminar once a week to teach new employees customer service. This is what this company said. Now I'm 27. They said, Robert, we don't know what you have, but we want you to share what you have with all our brand new customers. Wasn't that great? Guess what? I was number 1 in a company of 500 employees. I was number 1 in customer service, and I know why. I knew what the customer wanted, what the company wanted, and what I wanted. So, oh, by the way, fast forward about 6 years, I'm a supervisor, and I have 12 stores. And now, about 4 years. Fast forward 4 years, now I have 12 stores. Now I'm a supervisor or a district manager. And our competitor, a guy named RJ, that was a big shot, big cheese with Quick Trip, fantastic company. We had 100 stores, they had 300. They were our number 1 competitor. Truth be told, except for me, they were here, we were here. They were better than us. I hate to say that. They were a great company, powerful company, 300 stores. I suppose we were in second place, okay? It's okay to be in second place as long as you make first place beat the record. So we were right on their tail. And as far as I was concerned, we were the best company. And we were the best company because I was in the company and I was going to make it the best. But anyway, the guy comes in, him and a couple other people, and we had a brand new store, and they were going to check out the store. And so normally you ignore your competitors, and you let them walk around, they take some notes, and then they leave. I, however, am not normal. So I said, good morning, gentlemen. How's the Quick Trip guys doing? I opened up the door, and RJ came in, and 2 other guys that I didn't know. I said, my name is Robert Mitchell. Aren't you RJ? And RJ looked at me, and he said, I know who you are. you used to be the manager at 61st and Memorial back in 1989. I said, yes, sir. He said, you know our office is right down the street. I said, yes, sir. He said, once a week, we would get new hires. And we would send those new hires into your store, camouflaged in civilian clothes, no uniform. And we told them to walk around and watch you in your customer service. And then they said, and when they got back, they said, now we want you to do what he's doing to our customers. What a fantastic compliment that was. So anyway, go back 5 or 6 years, first day on the job, I realized that the customer wanted the jar. Well, now I'm a manager. So I called the company that sells us pickles. I said, I'd like a jar of pickles, please. Those 60 pickles, I want a jar of pickles. They said, you can't get it. Why not? You don't sell sandwiches. Okay, so I called the health department. And I said, health department, this is Robert Mitchell over at Get and Go number, guess what? 3. I can't make this stuff up. My first store was Get and Go number 3 at Admiral and Memorial in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I just love that store. And I called the health department and I said, can we sell pickles? And they said, of course you can sell pickles. They put them on the counter. You have to deliver the pickle to the customer. It's not self-serve. Pick it up. You get the pickle, put it in a napkin, give it to the customer. I called Fadler, our supplier, and I said, I want pickles. I said, we can sell pickles. So they sent a jar of pickles, 60 pickles. I put a sign on the jar. I said, buy the last pickle, get the jar free. Everybody talked about the jar. Everybody talked about the pickles. Hey, how many pickles are in there? Oh, there's 60. People would come in 2-3 days later. How many pickles you got left? I got 42. I said, come on in, get a pickle. They'd come on in. I sold pickles like crazy. I got down to 40. I got down to 30. How many pickles you got? I got down to 13. A guy walks in and says, how many pickles you got? I got 13. I'll buy the whole jar. He bought 13 pickles, got the jar free. I knew I was about to sell it, so I had a brand new jar, put it on the counter, slapped the sign on there, said, buy the last pickle, get the jar free. People would holler, how many pickles you got? 60. What? I sold the jar yesterday. How many? 13. Oh, I should have bought it the day before. So then the next time I sold 23 pickles, and then 30 pickles, and then 40 pickles, and then 43 pickles, and then one time I sold 60 pickles. Then I got a call. I got a call from the home office. Hey, Robert, what's going on over there? Something's really wrong. What? Oh, yeah, we got a problem over there. What's the matter? Oh, somebody's stealing pickles. I said, what? Somebody's stealing pickles. We just got a call from Fadler, the supplier of the pickles. Yes, sir. They said that you've gone through more pickles than 100 stores put together. I said, what? You've ordered more pickles than 100 stores combined. Somebody's stealing the pickles. I said, nobody's stealing the pickles, we're selling them. So they came and looked, and they saw the sign on the jar. And then they put me in charge, or not in charge, but they invited me into this merchandising committee. And I told them my pickle story. And I told them how some stores have sandwiches and some don't. And so what we did is we changed the whole policy that everybody sold the same exact sandwich. Changed the whole policy. I'm 27 years old. Changed the whole policy. Why? Because I sold more pickles than all the stores put together. I guess you could say I was number one at something. And you know why? My customers wanted pickles. They wanted the jar. My owners wanted to sell stuff, and I wanted an acknowledgement, a pay raise. I wanted to be a manager, a training manager, a supervisor. I became number one at that one thing. Okay, I got another pickle story for you. All right. So, as a manager, I would collect more money in Special Olympics than 10, 15 stores put together. The next 10 or 15. It was amazing. It was flat out amazing. So at first we were collecting money for Special Olympics. And in those days you could use the word handicap. So my line was, would you like to throw a nickel or two and help out the handicapped children of Oklahoma? I understand now that that would not be acceptable. I suppose I would say, I don't even know what I would say. Would you like to help the Special Olympians of Oklahoma? Now here's the problem. The stores or Special Olympics would bring us a can, and it would be like a 3-month campaign. And the can was fairly big, and it had a nice big bottom to take all the money out, but it had a tiny little slice on top. So you'd have to put a penny or two in, and it was very hard. So I put tape on the side, and I turned the jar over, and then I had a big hole in it so that people could throw their money in there. And so, as luck would have it, serendipitously, I was a brand new manager, or supervisor. So now, this is about 3 years into the company, I've got 12 stores. And my vice president wants, and he comes to me, and we always had supervisor meetings on a Monday. So he comes to me on Monday and says, Robert, on the day of the Special Olympians, by the way. So the Special Olympians came to our office, gave us 12 containers, one for each store. We all had 12 stores. And they brought 5 Special Olympians to tell their testimony about why they're in Special Olympics. And so then, of course, we'd have a supervisor meeting. We get all kinds of paper and all kinds of agendas and what we were supposed to focus on for the next week. And so what I would do is have a manager's meeting on Tuesdays. And I would have it at the office. And I would have it at 5 a.m. I would have it at 5 a.m. because our managers went to work at 5 a.m. All the other supervisors had it at like every other month at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Managers hated that because they were off duty and had to go to a meeting. And they were salary, so they didn't get paid. I was in touch with my managers. So I had a managers meeting at 5 a.m. because that's when they started their day. And so the vice president said, when's your next manager's meeting? I said, tomorrow morning. Oh, well, I want to attend it. First one he wanted to attend. I said, fantastic. I was brand new. He goes, what time? 5 a.m. He goes, 5 a.m.? Robert, you're a supervisor. Supervisors work 9 to 5. I said, I know, but my managers work 5 to 3. So I start the manager meeting at 5 because that's when they're supposed to go to work. He goes, all right, fine, I'll be there. So I show up the next morning, 5 o'clock Tuesday morning, and I've got 12 seats already, and I have the Special Olympian jar in every single chair, and I have all the paperwork that we're supposed to deliver. And so as it would happen, there was a wonderful lady that I fell in love with, not emotionally, but just as a great manager. Her name was Nina Zimmerman. And she had red hair, and she was fiery. And I had been a manager for 3 years, and I was #1 in collecting Special Olympic donations during that time. #1. Straight across the board, 100 stores. I was #1 in everything on Special Olympics. So now I have a reputation for being #1 in Special Olympics. So she says, Robert, I know that when you were a manager, you were #1. I'm not going to beg for money. I'm sorry, I can't do it. So I said, okay. So I shared the story of the 5 Special Olympians that came to our office to tell us why they were in Special Olympics. There was down children, people, there was children, there was several adults, and the testimonies were all the same. I should have wrote it down. I remembered it back then, but it was something like this. I'm in Special Olympics because I like helping disabled kids. I'm in Special Olympics because I like teaching people how to swim. It was amazing. When I got done with that, Nina Zimmerman was crying, oh, Robert, oh, I'm sorry, I'll help you if I can. Teach me how. I taught those managers how to collect money for Special Olympics. We collected more money than 3 or 4 supervisors put together. It was amazing. We had collected so much money. And so My pickle story is this. I go to a store, backtrack a little bit before I was a supervisor, and I took over a store, and they had 2 weeks left, and they had collected zero money. I put a pickle jar on the counter, a big pickle jar, the same pickle jar I gave away. Because they said somebody would steal the small jar. So I put a big pickle jar full of water, and we collected more money in that short period of time. I said 2 weeks, but it was a little bit longer than that. It might be a month or 6 weeks. We collected more money than the second place store, which happened to be my store that I transferred from, that was number one at the time. Now here's the neat thing. So my first year as a supervisor, let's call my stores Group A, I collected more money than B and C put together. 24, 25 stores put together. My 12 stores collected more money than the next 30, 40 stores. It was just phenomenal. Well, then I switched. My supervisor said, I want you to go from Group A to Group C. And he told me this: Group C is the worst stores in the company, and that's why you want to take them. Now, by the way, when I took over Group A stores, my supervisor, the vice president, said, Group A is number one. Your biggest challenge is going to keep them number one. I treated those stores like they were number one, and we stayed number one. Then I go to Group C stores, the worst company in the company, and for 1 year, we stayed the last place. And then I learned something. I went to a class, and by the way, your business grows to the extent that you grow. That's a bold law. Your business grows to the extent that you grow. I went to a class, and this guy told the most wonderful story. He said that this teacher was complaining to the principal. Principal, give me some smart students. I'm sick and tired of these duds. Give me some great kids. And she would tell them that every year. And so 1 year she said, Principal, please give me some great kids. Let me teach. Let me teach. And then she got it. She saw their IQs from top to bottom. She had 25 kids, and they had the top 25 IQs possible. She couldn't believe it. So she goes into the classroom on day one, and she says, I want to let you all know that I'm very intimidated because you're a gifted group. She said, I don't even know if we can use the book. I don't even know if we can use my teachings that I've done and my syllabuses that I've done. I'm going to do the very best not to let you down. I'm going to grow, and I'm going to try to be the very best teachers because you're the most gifted kids in the whole school. And she said, please give me a chance. I've been asking for this and asking for this, and finally I have the most gifted kids in the class. And so she taught. She taught her heart out. And guess what? At the end of the year, she won Teacher of the Year award. Those kids excelled like you knew they would because they were so smart. And she got on that national stage, and she was about to receive that big, beautiful plaque. And the principal was there to introduce her, and she said, it's not fair. I don't deserve this plaque. He goes, oh, yes, you do. She goes, no, you gave me the best kids. I don't deserve the plaque. They do. It was unfair. I had the smartest kids in the group. And he says, what are you talking about? She goes, I saw their IQs. He goes, what are you talking about? She goes, on the sheet, at the first day of school, I saw all their IQs. And he told her, that was their locker number. That was their locker number. It wasn't their IQ. They were just like any other kid. But she treated them like the best. I went back after that seminar. I didn't tell my group this, but I started teaching and speaking and acting like Group C was Group A. We revolutionized them. They revolutionized themselves. The first thing I did is half of them were out of town. And I wasn't doing manager meetings because it was out of town. So I wasn't expecting as much out of them because they were out of town. It was a 30-minute drive, not that far. So I said, we're going to start doing a manager's meeting every Tuesday. And you out of town guys, you just go ahead and travel. I'll pay you to travel. We'll have donuts and orange juice in the morning. And then all my group showed up, all 12 ragtag team. And none of them had the right uniforms on. And we went into the uniform room and I gave them new uniforms. And they had never received the uniforms. I thought they didn't like the new uniforms. No one ever gave it to them. See, they were the ragtag team. They were the stepchildren. They were the out-of-towners. Nobody really thought about them. So I gave them all the new uniforms, the up-to-date uniforms. And we were about to have a big manager meeting. And I said, I want you all to dress with a sharp shirt, sharp tie, sharp creased shirts, and I want you all walking together. And they all walked in, 12 managers that stood out. They were shining like a diamond. They looked fantastic. Everybody went, wow, that's Robert's team. And the miracle of all the miracles, they were the worst at collecting money for Special Olympics. And that first year that I had them, which was at the end of one year, they were number one. My A team had dropped to 3. I realized that my A team wasn't an A team. I treated them like an A team, and therefore they became an A team. And my supervisor told me that my group of 12 stores was the best group of 12 that he had ever seen in his whole career. We became the best at that moment. And we did it because we knew what the customers wanted, we knew what the employees or employer wanted, and I knew what I wanted, and we narrowed that down to the most common denominator. What are your gifts? What are your strengths? What are your talents? What is it that people desire that you're around? How can you make them feel important? When you figure that out, you will be the best in your room. Thank you very much.